As for young P.C. Smith's account, he must have been mistaken about this person's real height. It is only an inch or two after all, and we can attribute the same height as the other two.
In other words, the police constable is an idiot and crank the height down a few inches.
Bravo, Watson. Our mannequins have been recreated based on the correct accounts. Now, Watson, let's see in what ways these statements differ and how the witnesses could have been mistaken. Let's look at these wigs and moustaches. Let's start by taking the first Joseph's testimony, who saw the man head-on in a well-lit spot and in which he noted fair hair. Now, let's consider the same person, but in the lighting and angle of the other two witnesses, in the darkness of night, with poor artificial lighting from above.
Well, you see them darker.
Put out the light, Watson.
Oh, nope. Where's the light? Light. I have a light switch?
Thus, poor lighting and a backlit subject can affect our perception of shades and colours. The wigs from Abraham's mannequin took on the same colour as the other three. The three testimonies, therefore, don't contradict one another, and we can apply the same facial hair to all three mannequins. Turn on the light, Watson.
Light on! And stop grabbing my ass, Holmes. Okay, so you're a blonde, and you're a blonde.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
Well done, Watson. With regards to the murderer's hair, the three witnesses should agree on Abraham's testimony. As Joseph is the only one who saw our man in full light, his hair must therefore be fair. You see, Watson, it's hard to draw objective conclusions when one is an eyewitness to an event. This leads us to reconsider the various statements regarding the supposed age of the man. Even if you are face to face with someone in full light and for a period of several hours, to what extent can you determine their exact age? And even more so if you observe them for only a few seconds and or from behind. We must allow some flexibility when considering our witnesses' statements, but always scientific flexibility.
Okay, so now we've got to figure out Jack's age by use of a Frogwares puzzle. This puzzle is not too difficult once you understand what you're looking at. Each one of these numbers, you have your starting number, and then you have the tolerance of years. And that is the range of numbers that you have to give or take to the main number to see what we can work with. So here, it's like 30, you have a range of 3 to 5 years. So you start off with 25 and 35, and then you'll work your way either up, or you'll basically work your way in towards the main number. So it becomes 26, 34, or then 27, 33, because it's a 3 to 5 year age range. And then 40, it's 31 to 49, 32 to 48, and so on and so forth. And just work your way down, and you'll do that for each of the columns. Now, once you've done that, you can then interact with the number at the top, and looking at the numbers that you've made at the rows, you can... It's very difficult to explain this, but it's actually not that hard. You just find the like numbers in the rows in each one of the sets, and that's your number of your target age. Which, considering all these ages were guessed at, I'm not sure how Holmes can actually certainly say this is the number. But, I'll go with it.
Perfect, Watson. Within a margin of 1 year, Watson, the age of our murderer is 33 years old.
But the man described by Smith was dressed respectably, whereas the other two were poorly dressed.
Indeed, but Whitechapel's respectively could quite easily describe the Sunday bests that all lower-class men wear.
That's true.
Now, let's place ourselves in the shoes of Liz Stride's killer. He has just slain his victim and sees Louis Diemschutz discover her body. Our killer is at great risk if he stays in the area. He therefore gets away from this spot. But he wants to kill again. However, he might have been spotted in the area before having committed the murder by a constable on his round, perhaps, who managed to get his description. What do you think the killer will do?
Change his features. By disguise. Wait on the premises. I think he'd by disguise. Changing on the print of the weapon. No? Okay. Never mind then.
No, that's not it.
Wait a moment before searching on the victim. Okay, wait on the premises, throw his clothing in the sewer and trash bin, return home to a safe location.
No, that's
Alright, find an accomplice, flee, and buy a disguise. Wait while on the premises. Nothing. And nothing is not he who committed the second murder. Look for another victim. Commit the second murder in his place. Wait a moment before searching for another victim. Escape without being recognized.
No, that's not it.
Buy a disguise and
No,
escape.
Watson.
Right!
No, Watson.
Well, I don't... Alright, what are you trying to...
No, that's not it.
Go back home or to a safe location, change his clothes and leave again in search of another victim.
That's kind of what I said
The only possible
before.
explanation, Watson. The man returned to the safety of his lodgings and then decided to go out again with new clothes and repeat his sinister nocturnal work. That's how the discrepancies between the witnesses with regards to clothing...
That
can be
follows up
explained.
with the American.
What a cold-blooded animal.
And what determination! Powerful motives are pushing this man. Thus, we can conclude that the respectable man with the package may very well have been seen by the two Josephs.
Joseph 1, Joseph
Even
2.
if it is just a mannequin, it's giving me goosebumps.
Ugh.
But have we really...
It has no eyes, yet it stares at my
I mean, there
soul.
must be thousands of men in Whitechapel who match this description, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but there's only one that we've actually heard
We've
of.
worked on who, now let's work on where. We need a map of Whitechapel, and please also find me a pencil, 2 compasses, one of which can draw ellipses.
I have the map of Whitechapel already. So I just need to go get the compasses. There are the 2 compasses. Here's the extra map.
I'm in need of something.
Oh, not done yet. Sorry, not done yet. Ta-tum, ta-tum, tum, ta-tum, tum, ta-tum, tum.
I am in need of something.
What are you in need of?
First of all,
Oh.
let's place our 4 murders on this map, as well as the spot where the graffito appeared, and the piece of apron was dropped.
Okay, Dutsford Yard, Bucks Row, Goldsmith Street, and Mitre Square. Annie Chapman... Oh, fuck, I don't really remember where these people were killed. I wasn't paying that much attention. Okay, Annie Chapman goes on Hawkbury Street. There it is. Elizabeth Dine goes on Dustford Yard. Annie goes on Bucks Row. Gaft goes on... Wait a minute. Kathleen Eddowes goes on Myler. And the graffiti goes on Gaft.
Perfect,
Cool.
Watson. Let's connect each crime scene to the one out of the others that is the furthest.
To the one out of the others that is the furthest. Bam. Just gonna deep draw a line over here. Do I have like a measuring tape or something? Because I can't really judge the distances that well.
You see, Watson, the
Oh, there we
murders
go.
aren't grouped together, but seem to be spread out like cardinal points around a central zone. The killer obviously wanted to avoid returning to the previous scenes of his crimes, assuming that they would be more closely watched, or that he could be recognized.
So, the killer lives at the centre of this cross.
It's presumable.
Vicinity, most certainly, but how near? We cannot afford to get it wrong. If you concentrate, Watson, you will notice that the murders are roughly equidistant from the intersection point of the diagonals. Let's focus on the night of the double murder. Remember, Watson, it took us 20 minutes to get from Dutfield's Yard to Mitre Square. Let's draw a line from one to the other.
Dutfield Yard, Mitre Square.
We didn't make the trip as the crow flies, but that would not harm our estimate. Let's suppose the killer left Dutfield's Yard at 1 a.m. and arrived in Mitre Square at 1:35 a.m. when he was seen by the two Josephs.
Okay.
If he took 5 minutes to change his clothes, that leaves a range of 10 minutes to determine where this man's lodgings are. We must determine the area in which one can go from Dutfield's Yard to Mitre Square in less than half an hour. To do this, let's draw an ellipsis. The length between Dutfield's Yard and Mitre Square corresponds to 20 minutes.
Too much
By
math!
half, we get a distance of 30 minutes. By taking the two right segments, each starting from the two murder scenes, and which
This is making me sound like geometry homework.
we get our ellipses.
What am I doing? I'm sorry, I was not paying attention. Trace an ellipse in which we can go from Dutfield Yard to Mitre Square in less than half an hour.
There we are, Watson. Our killer lives in this area.
It's
It's
still
ish.
rather a vast area, Holmes.
Yes, indeed. And our goal is to reduce this area as much as we can. We must consider the fact that the murder at Mitre Square was committed under a certain amount of pressure, given that the killer knew he was wanted for the acts he committed not long before. We can assume that he had to do it in a safe zone, that is, an area not far from where he lives. This is especially true of an act such as the graffiti he carried out after 2 murders. Let's trace a circle around this point, with the distance separating it from Mitre Square as the radius. This will enable us to determine our killer's safe zone.
Okay.
Our killer must surely live inside this circle. Now, let's intersect it with the ellipses that we previously determined.
Here? Whoa, cool.
There we are, Watson, the Aldgate district.
Shouldn't we inform the police so that they can concentrate their efforts on this area of Whitechapel?
Fuck no!
Probably already crawling with inspectors, Watson, and I doubt that they would take us seriously, even if they were willing to listen to what we had to say.
Holmes's pride has been
Let's focus
hurt.
instead on understanding the killer's modus operandi. We know our murderer preys on prostitutes who are penniless, weak, sick, or alcoholic, that he distracts them the moment before killing them, and that he left an anonymous message inciting anti-Semitic hatred at the entrance of a building occupied by Jews. How would you describe this man?
Hitler!
What a coward.
Indeed, he is a person of great cowardice. Let's look at his murders, and in particular, the depredations on the corpses, putting aside that of Liz Stride, because on that occasion his work was left unfinished. If we recall the observations made on the victims and the parts that were mutilated or damaged on each of the bodies, without forgetting the fact that he also removed one or more organs, we can ascertain that our killer evolves during the course of the murders, cowardly and still evolving. And yet, look at the location of our first murder, that of Polly
fuck was
Nichols
that?
in Bucks Row. It is the most distant from the area our killer would appear to live. Perhaps this murder was preceded by another within the killer's area. I believe a cowardly killer would commit his first murder in an area close to his home, in order to find refuge as quickly as possible on carrying out the act.
Holmes, an idea just occurred to me that fills me with dread. This evolution of which you speak.
He will pursue his next victim as long as the conditions permit him to continue killing, Watson.
But how could one go even further in this horror? Look at what he did to that woman, Catherine Eddowes.
In order to avoid having to answer that question, we must act with haste and planning. Watson, I suggest you inform yourself on the mutilations sustained by the victims. We played with the idea that this could be an act of vengeance against prostitutes.
Okay.
If the mutilations correspond to areas affected by a specific pathology, perhaps the killer wanted to give an eye for an affliction he felt the prostitutes he knew were responsible for.
Syphilis?
And this trail leading to Dr. Tumblety Holmes?
I also have a few things to look into in the meantime. I still have a primary witness to track down, not to mention old trails I've yet to pursue. See you soon, Watson. When we first spoke about the Bucks Row murder with Watson, he was reading a newspaper.
Monologue go!
Dated September 1st, 1888, I believe, which mentioned similar murders in the preceding months. I have no chance of finding the police reports, but perhaps I could find some information at the Central News Agency. I must go there at once. Afterwards, I'll go back to see Abraham, the owner of the pet shop in Whitechapel. The second Joseph's statement would lead me to believe that he may know the man spotted on the corner of Church Passage that night. If that's the case, I must find this witness so I can question him.
Jeez, okay. Gotten a lot done, but do I want to keep going, or do I want to stop? Well, we'll save now anyway. New save file. What's going on? There we go. Save file. I don't want to stop, but I'll take a quick break. MST3K forever here. Let's play Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. I will be back very shortly, but you guys will probably see this possibly a continuation of this episode, or maybe in the next episode, I don't know. But I'm going to take a quick break to get some lunch, and then I'm going to come right back. So I'm really getting into this now. Let's see if we can keep going. No shitty puzzles have interrupted my process right now. Well, nothing too horrible. Yeah, so catch you later!